Good morning. We have come to Stockholm Central Station and we are leaving Stockholm and headed to Oslo, Norway. We have a 6-hour-long train ride to Oslo.
And this one will actually be non-stop, no changeovers or anything, so it won't be too bad. We'll get settled in and we have reserved seats also, so we're not having to fight for seats. That was kind of a requirement for these SJ train lines. If you have a Eurail pass, you have to reserve seats, so we did that online. And it's way discounted, so it's not a big deal to do that. For the first time in a while too, we got here earlier than normal, and you can see behind us that we don't have a train, and we're not rushing to hop on with like 1 minute left to go like we have been doing. So we're glad to finally have like a fairly easy and restful morning, get into the train.
You can relax for a second.
Yes, and we really relaxed because it's non-stop, so a really good travel day all in all so far. And we got food last night from the grocery store, so we even have food for the day.
We have our lunch. We are the most prepared we've ever been.
It's like we've been doing this for 4 months now. So 6 hours, and we will be in Oslo, Norway.
6 hours later and we've made it to snowy Oslo. So far it doesn't feel too much colder, but it is beautiful, just covered in snow.
And the train ride was very beautiful, all very snowy and icy the whole way. But I didn't really film very much of this train ride. One, because it was all just snow the entire time, and two, we've already had 14 days of travel on trains throughout Europe. And so if you want to see a train travel day, definitely go check out those videos. But this one, I want to focus on the fact that this was our 15th travel day, which means it is the end to our Eurail pass use. And so now I want to figure out, was it worth it? I'm going to go back and I'm going to add up our trips, and I'm going to show you if it's worth for you to get a Eurail pass when you come to Europe.
All right, so like you have seen, we have just arrived to Oslo, and that means that we've completed our 15 days of travel with our Eurail pass. And so now I want to go through, now that we've completed our traveling, and see if it was actually completely worth getting the Eurail pass. So for ours, we got the 2-month, 15-day travel pass. And so what that allowed us to do was over a 2-month period, use 15 days of travel that doesn't have to be consecutive, and that does not mean 15 trains. So there were some days that we did a train to another city and then came back in the same day, and that is all valid on this Eurail pass. And so for this specific one, we paid 690 American dollars for each pass. So a total of $1,380. So whenever we were looking up our trains, we used this app called the Go Euro app. And what that allows you to do is get on there and search train destinations, when the trains were coming, how much they would be, and you can also purchase tickets through that app and make seat reservations. Since we already had the My Eurail pass, we didn't have to actually purchase those tickets. There were some trains where we had to make seat reservations, like SJ trains and some of the other domestic train lines that required those. But we only did that once we were going to Sweden and away from Sweden here to Norway. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through the Go Euro app, and I'm going to find all of the cheapest trains on a specific day as if I was planning a trip 2 months in advance. Because if you're going to be doing this and you don't have a Eurail pass, you're going to be planning out ahead, because it's cheaper to buy tickets in advance rather than the day of, just like airline tickets. So one of the first trips that we used our Eurail pass and the Go Euro app was for our very first train ride from Interlaken to Salzburg, Austria. So I'll go ahead and open up the Go Euro app, and then we will, in the destination portion, put where we're coming from, so Interlaken. And then our destination we'll put in where we're going, so Salzburg. And then since we are going to plan this out as if we were planning a trip for 2 months in advance, I will put in a trip date 2 months in the future, so we'll go ahead and just say the 25th of March. And we'll search that. So you'll see that it pulls up train, buses, and some flights that you can take between these two cities. And we'll just go through here. You'll see that it has the departure time, the arrival time, as well as the changes that you'll make, because most of these you're not going direct. You'll have to actually get off and get on a different train. So this was very helpful to see that, and they'll have the train number and who the operator of the train line is, so it makes it really easy to find those. And we'll also see the prices. So how I want to do this is I want to see if you took a trip and you did the bare cheapest train rides every day. You didn't plan out, you know, I have to leave at this time exactly or be at this place at this time. We just want to do the cheapest trains to save as much money as we possible. That's how I want to plan this. That's normally how I would travel, except we got the Eurail pass. So I'll go through here and we can just see the prices. And it looks like the cheapest one is this 1430 to 2206 train ride. It is 47 American dollars. So if we clicked on that, you can see we can go down, and then there are other options that you can do, that you can add, like a seat reservation. Most trains, like I said, you don't have to with the Eurail pass. You can just get on and see if a seat's reserved. If it's not reserved, you can go ahead and just sit down. You can purchase a ticket that way. So what I've gone through, and I've looked at all these different trains. Now there were some that were a little bit unique, like when we went from Vienna to Brussels. That one, whenever I searched that particular train ride, let's say Vienna, and we're going to go to Brussels, because it was such a long train, it actually didn't offer too many. So these are all bus options. And we want to do trains, since we're going to try to figure out if we want to get the Eurail pass. So what I figured out I could do is I could do Vienna. I knew the train would go through Munich just by looking at some of the train lines. I did Vienna to Munich. I found a train then, and then, so we'll go through Vienna to Munich. It looks like the cheapest one would be this $34 train ride. And we see it leaves at 9:30 and it gets there at 13:49. So now I know that the next leg has to be after 13:49, because that's when I'll be arriving in Munich. So Munich now to Brussels. If we search this, we know we have to go down past 13:49. And so the only option is this 14:51 to 21:35, which is exactly what we did. But that train is $142. So that was a very expensive day. It was a super long travel day, but it was a costly one if you don't have the Eurail pass. So that is how we did that one. If you have a really long one and you cannot find it, there may be a workaround where you can figure out yourself. Now there were some other days where, like I had mentioned, we did go from, let's say, like Nuremberg to Dachau when we went to the concentration camp, and in the same day we came back from Dachau to Nuremberg. So we can actually change in the app to a round trip. We went from Nuremberg to Dachau, and we're going to come back the same day. We'll search that. So this is a feature I didn't really know was an option. I thought you'd have to pay both ways, but we'll see. So if we find the cheapest one on here, and it has to be in the morning time because we're going to come back in the evening, so we want to make sure we have maximum amount of time while we go and see the concentration camp. But we're still going to look for the cheapest one. Okay, there's a $47 one, and I just kind of know that that's usually about as cheap as it will get. If you see that, there are some tickets that will go for down to $23, but that's the cheapest in the morning. So we'll do 10:02 to 11:21. We're getting there a little bit late, but we're still trying to save money. Now we'll see, we're gonna have to come back in the evening, so we'll just go ahead and scroll all the way down to the bottom. And if we look at the evening, there are actually free train rides back if you pay for the first trip. Now there are some that will be a lot more expensive, but we're gonna go for absolute cheapest. This is 1936. You get a ton of time, that's 8 hours in Dachau. You can click on that one and you'll see that the total ends up being $47. And so that is not too bad of a deal really for going there and back. And so that was the same for when we went to Schwerin to Hamburg, as well as when we took the day trip to Berlin one day. So once we do that, if I go through and I look at all of these totaled up, and by the way, we did trips Interlaken to Salzburg, Salzburg to Vienna, Stockholm to Oslo. That's 20 different destinations that we went to. I didn't include, there were some, like when we were in Vienna and we stayed in Perkersdorf, or when we first arrived, we did take a train out to Perkersdorf and then back in. We used our Eurail pass. I'm not sure if we were supposed to do that. Nobody checked our tickets. We were kind of confused on that. So I didn't include those in here, just the big long trips. But you can see we did a ton of traveling with the Eurail pass. If I add up all of these that I went through previously and found the cheapest ones. So I just finished adding up our total of all 20 of these train rides. and the total actually comes out to be $690, the exact same amount that we paid for the Eurail pass. So I can't believe that that is the exact amount. I thought for sure that I would be able to come on this video and say that it came in at like $750, $800, and we saved a ton of money doing that. So looking at that pass, I'm now trying to figure out, is it worth it? And in my personal opinion, I say it is still completely worth it. You're not losing any money by doing, and this was, of course, our specific trip and the specific Eurail pass that we got. There was a whole list of different Eurail passes that you could have gotten. One that we were looking at originally was a 2-month flex pass, which means you could travel as much as you want within 2 months. It's not restricting you to a certain number of days, certain number of travels, or anything. You travel anytime that you want to in 2 months. There's also different zones that you could look at, but we went ahead and did this one because this one was a lot cheaper than doing the 2-month flexible pass. So that one I wouldn't say is worth it if this is how much you end up traveling. We did limit ourselves to 15 days because it's what we had, but we still felt like we saw everything we wanted to see and more. We honestly did those 2-day trips from Schwerin to Berlin and to Hamburg just because we had the extra days. But I would say it's totally worth it because you get so much flexibility with the Eurail pass. See, this was planning out, just finding the cheapest trains that you could do 2 months in advance, which is gonna hold you to a pretty strict schedule. You're gonna have to get to the train station at a certain time and you cannot change it. There was one instance where we did miss a train, and so we had to get on a different train later. And if we wouldn't have had that flexibility, we would have had to buy a whole new ticket, which would have then made it more expensive than a Eurail pass. So just in terms of flexibility, I highly recommend getting a Eurail pass. And again, this is just our specific trip. You may be doing a lot farther trips, more expensive ones that would have made it more expensive than getting an Eurail pass, or you could have done a lot shorter trips that wouldn't have cost as much, that maybe would have justified it if you didn't want to pay for the flexibility that the Eurail pass can afford you. So that's just our little take on the Eurail pass. I would recommend it. This is not a paid sponsorship. We are way too small to even have the possibility of a paid sponsorship, so you can definitely trust that this is an honest review. I can't believe the results, that it was the exact same amount, $690, but that is the way that it was. If you want to know more about how to use the Eurail pass, we do have a video on that, and we'll link that video to this one so that you can check that out. But it's super easy to use, and I highly recommend you use the Go Euro app too while you plan your trip, because it will make things so much easier for you. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you liked this and you found it helpful, please like it and comment and let us know that you found it helpful. Also, be sure to subscribe because we hope to share more travel tips as we continue on our world adventures so that you guys can benefit from it and be prepared even more than we were whenever you go out and travel. Thanks.